Hey, welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Focus TV. We got Octavia White here, Malik Miller. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. We'll have Ray join us just a little bit later, but we're getting closer and closer and closer to opening night of the NFL. So Octavia, I know you're looking forward to that. That said, the closer we get to the NFL season means the closer we get to the end of the regular season in the WNBA. If you guys been with us past couple of weeks, you know the Washington Mystics they have their postseason hopes in the midst of trying to make a push. They sneak in the back door of the postseason. Right now, they are in 10th. They're coming off back-to-back wins. One on the road against the Indiana Fever, which was on Friday. They won that game 88-84, followed by a 95-86 win over the Los Angeles Sparks on Sunday. That was their first win over LA in their season series. They still have one more game to play in that season series, but it was great to see Washington fight back. Literally, LA had their way with them in the first two games, and we saw Washington really take it to them in that one. As always, I'll remind you guys, if you miss any Mystics Outlook recap, get over to the Roku channel, look for the Mystics Outlook tab, and catch up that way. Also, if that's a little too much for you, you can just get on Twitter, get on the Focus TV, just scroll a little bit. They are right there. They're all lined up. They go live. So either way, if you guys feel like one's too difficult, either way you can catch up. That said, those wins put Washington at 16-18 on the year. Heading into tonight's game, which they're in the midst of right now, they're trailing Connecticut 43-35. This is one of two matchups with Connecticut this week. Ray's at the game. We'll catch up with them a little bit later. Again, they're tied with the Sparks in the standings, even though the Sparks are in ninth, because as of right now, Sparks have the tiebreaker. They're up 2-1 in that season series. Again, Washington has an opportunity to make that null and void later, but they got to take care of business before they get there. Again, 2 games against the Sun early this week, and then this weekend, man, murderer's row to a degree. The very, 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 very hot Las Vegas Aces are back in town this weekend, followed by a matchup with the Seattle Storm. Now, the great opportunity for Washington, even if you take the Aces game out of it, this Storm they're directly in your path and try to get into the playoffs. So you get opportunity just like you did with the games against LA, with that game against LA, and personally being able to handle some of your business. But again, it doesn't mean anything if they don't handle business tonight and again on Thursday before we even get to the weekend. But again, great job by Washington thus far as they continue to try to make this playoff push. This is the second, technically it's like the fourth 2-game win streak of the year. They win tonight, it would be the third. We've seen them tally up 3 wins a couple times earlier this season, only to lose that 4th game. It'd be great to see them get hot now, but they got to take advantage of these games that are at home. Cardo's done a great job laying out how tough it's been for them on the road. So you got 3 home games this week. Capitalize. We'll see what that looks like. We'll check back in with you guys next week after we talk to Ray following tonight's game. All right, Octavia. Another week means the NFL preseason moved again. So what's happening in y'all's wonderful, wonderful division?
Yeah, another week, another taste of the regular season. I really do find myself as time goes on to become more and more just anxious for the season to start, but we are still in the midst of the preseason. We just wrapped up preseason week 2. So we'll go in same order we've been going in. So I'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles, who did play against the Cleveland Browns this week. Majority of the starters, I would say really for both teams, really didn't play. Their coaches, Kevin Stefanski as well as Nick Sirianni, both talked about how much work the ones got during joint practices, which they're taking, of course, heavily advantage of. So you're not going to see a lot of the starters. It was also pretty keen that Tanner McKee did not play in this game as well after his great showing in week 1 preseason, which kind of makes you believe he's sewn up for week 2. I mean, for the quarterback 2 behind Jalen. And then that just leaves behind Dorian Thompson-Robinson as well as Kyle McCord. Both of them didn't have a great game. It was kind of up and down, mixed bags. But again, the coaches did also point to the fact that because there was a lot of heavy work with the ones in joint practices, a lot of the second and third teams did not get a lot of reps. But neither here nor there. We know those two are fighting for QB3 at that point. The Browns did defeat the Eagles 22-13. Positives for the Eagles on the defensive side with Andrew Makuba. He has missed some time in training camp due to some injuries. I also heard that he has a hamstring injury from practice today. So we'll see how significant that is. But I mean, anytime you can get a pick six in any game, especially as a rookie, it's always going to be a good sight for him. So he was able to get a pick six off of Gabriel during the game, as well as recover a fumble. So two very, very big things that, of course, when you're a defensive coach, that you're looking for is somebody who has a knack for the ball, somebody who's able to get the ball when needs be. Turnovers, of course, are going to be at a premium when it comes to on this defensive side, especially knowing how young they are and the key pieces that they lost after the Super Bowl. So definitely kudos to him. It's definitely showing that he is going to be very much in the mix. When you think about him going against Sidney Brown, who also is going into his second or third year, but we know he had a significant injury. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Another thing that happened this week that didn't necessarily have to do with the game, but the Philadelphia Eagles did also pick up John Mechie III from the Houston Texans. I'll be honest, I haven't dug too deep into it yet. I kind of scratched my head when I heard this because the wide receivers so far have been doing pretty well. When you talk about even in this game, Ainias Smith, he caught his second touchdown in as many preseason games. He led our receivers in the game with 19 total yards, but of course they didn't really throw the ball too much. He had 4 catches on 5 targets in 2 games. So they're kind of, I don't want to say deep to a certain degree. I mean, of course, you got Adrian Brown who hasn't practiced much due to, I think he also has a hamstring injury, but then you have Devontae, you have Dallas Goedert, you have Jahan Dotson, who's going to have a full off season this year because he came over last year at the end of preseason. And then you have Johnny Wilson as well as Ainias Smith. But Johnny Wilson did get carted off in practice today with an apparent leg injury. And there has been great first talks about John Mechie in their first practice. Again, it's still early, but we know that, everybody is joking that the Philadelphia Eagles are the Crimson Bulldogs at this point. Pretty much anybody that played for Alabama or played for Georgia at some point has been a Philadelphia Eagle. So to have him also paired up with Jalen Hurts, who of course he played with, him and Devontae Smith played together as well, should be a good showing for them. But again, preseason, they got a lot of work in the joint practices, so neither here nor there. Their next game is going to be this Friday against the Jets at MetLife. Next, we'll go to the game that came on last night, which was the Washington Commanders against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals defeated the Commanders 31-17, but the Washington Commanders started off really, really hot. Their first 2 offensive possessions, they took a 14-7 lead, but their backups is, again, where it kind of turned the tide as far as them winning the game. Now, of course, in preseason, you're not really looking at wins and losses. You're looking at, how they play, their processing, knowing the plays, knowing where to be, their footwork, all of those things. But the game kind of turned late in the second quarter when Bengals quarterback Jake Browning found former Commanders wide receiver Mitchell Tinsley in the end zone to give Cincinnati a 21-14 lead. Almost immediately, Washington backup quarterback Sam Hartman was intercepted, and Browning found Tinsley again on the next play, giving the Bengals a 28-14 advantage, and pretty much proved to be the nail in the coffin at that point. Mitchell Tinsley, as we know, the wide receiver group for the Washington Commanders, we know Terry McLaurin is still in a contract negotiation. He's been taken off the PUP list, but he did not play. I don't even know if he was in the building during this game. It was also, for me, I feel like, I don't want to say I talk trash about him, but it was nice to see Debo, get a Debo play in there. He did what he did. He was, wide back, whatever you want to call him at that point. He played 1 series and carried the ball 1 time for 19 yards. It's preseason, they're just getting their, mojo going, but it's nice to see him in a familiar play that we've seen him literally take to the house multiple times in a 49ers uniform. Brian Robinson Jr. was not in the building, and the talks right now is that he is on the trade block. He is slated to make a good amount of money this year, and it seems like Dan Quinn and the coaching staff for the Washington Commanders are pretty solidified in their running back group. They have whatever this guy's name, Bill Jakarski, whatever he decides to go by today. I saw a clip he likes to be called Bill for whatever reason. I think it was that apparently when he was a kid, they said he looked like Little Bill. So there's that. But they have him. They also have Rodriguez Jr., who played in this game. They do still have Austin Eckler. And they do also have Jeremy McNichol. So it seems like it's really, if they get rid of Brian Robinson Jr., it's really going to be a running back by committee unless one of them kind of take the bull by the horns and go forward. I feel like every season we talk about this. Kicking, I don't know what happens. They do have kicker Matt Gay. His kickoffs have been a little bit of a concern in the preseason. Kick short, he's allowed at least 2 long returns due to his poor kicking. So as we know, the Commanders are not shy with working out multiple kickers, bringing people in and out. I'll be interested to see if that continues to happen. And last but not least, I mean, you can't talk about the Commanders without talking about Jaden McDaniels. Baby, his life flashed before my eyes when he was running in preseason, trying to get into that end zone. I don't know who the defensive player was for the Bengals, but he definitely missed a block or missed a tackle in that instance, because I really thought I thought McDaniels was about to get blown up, but maybe he's put on some extra weight in the off season. Bulked up a little bit. He's a little bit on the slimmer side, but we know slim people can play well. Shout out to my man Devontae Smith. But he's just good. He's just good. I'm interested, of course, to see how that translates into his sophomore year. We know the sophomore slump is real, but everything with him points to be just good. Like there's nothing you can really say about him. Their next game is going to be against the Ravens this Saturday. Next, we'll go to the Dallas Cowboys, who played against the Baltimore Ravens. They lost to the Ravens 31-13. I feel like, again, some things that we've been talking about in the last couple of years, ever since Ezekiel Elliott has departed and came back and departed again, their running game is just not good right now. And that's me even saying I was a huge fan of Miles Sanders. Of course, he played for the Philadelphia Eagles at one point. He did not have a good showing against the Ravens. He bobbled a toss, which was nearly a fumble. And he had 7 carries for 15 yards, and he was your leading rusher in the game. When you have a much anticipated debut of running back Tyler Booker, didn't really save too much for their running attack. Then you also have Deuce Vaughn and Phil Maffei, who had worse efficiency, totaling 8 carries for 18 yards combined. It's just not good right now. But the crazy thing about it is I'm pretty sure everybody said this in the offseason. I know I think it's I can't think his name, Jadon Blue or something. I think he's supposed to be in the mix at some point, but we'll see. The linebackers had a pretty good day, all things considered. Their run defense is still, but again, we're in preseason. Mazi Smith played a good amount of reps. It's still not, I think, what we expected from Mazi Smith coming out of Michigan, but again, everybody doesn't get it as quickly as Micah Parsons and those other people, even though we know Micah Parsons is still not signed. Last but not least, it's a little concerning about Joe Milton. I know I don't want to say that he majorly got his pub from a Week 18 game where he played for the New England Patriots, but it has not looked good. It looked pretty similar to what it was in preseason Week 1, except in preseason Week 1, he kind of brought it together a little bit in the second half. Did not in this one. He threw 8 passes in the first half and completed 2 of them for 14 yards. Still holds the ball a little bit too long. Doesn't sense a lot of the pressure that's around him. They got a lot of work to do with him if they anticipate him being the backup to Dak. And we know Dak is coming off a hamstring injury. And let's be honest, he is a little bit injury prone at this portion of his career. So they're going to need to solidify a very good backup, knowing that there is a high possibility that person will get at least some time in a game or possibly have to start a game or two. Last but not least, the New York Giants, where apparently everybody just thinks the Giants are going to be so great now. I don't know. But they defeated the Jets 31-12. Jackson Dart was 14-16 for 137 yards, which was really good. You know, I think he's had two very solid outings as the quarterback. But I think Russell Wilson was like, not too fast. Slow down a little bit. Let's back it up a little bit. We know that, you know, veterans also always kind of get the benefit of the doubt. But Russell Wilson still throws a beautiful moon ball. He had 80-yard pass to Bo Collins. That was just it was just nice. You know, of course, we know he can't do that on every play, and that's going to be the issue. Their offensive line was decent. They're still missing one player. His name slips my mind right this second. Who they are expecting to be ready by week 1, but every year, again, when I talk about these teams, it's always a repeating thing. And for the New York Giants, it's their offensive line, so I'll believe it when I see it. Abdul Carter, welcome to the NFL. I know it was one play. It happens. But he was definitely decleated twice when he was by tight end Stone Smart, and then offensive tackle Chuka Okorafor. But again, it's a game. It happens. It doesn't make me think anything less of Abdul Carter. The Jets did find a little bit of success on the ground, which mostly came from their interior, which is why it's important to note that Dexter Lawrence did not play in the game. Their outside DTs play very, very well. So it's interesting to see how the Giants are going to be. You think about, you know, they do have a fairly tough-ish schedule, not too crazy, but it's going to be very, very interesting. Their defense is really, really good. The issue that they're going to run into is, can their offense put them far enough in advance where their defense can eat and keep them in that space? So we'll see. Their next game is going to be against the New England Patriots this Thursday. So we got one more game for preseason week. I always forget. I think I literally forgot until I looked it up earlier today that there's only 3 preseason games instead of 4. I don't know how my brain forgot that already, but we got one more week of preseason, and then we'll have the bye week in preseason at this point, and then we'll be ready to start the season on September 4th, which cannot get here fast enough.
Yeah, I'm sure some teams can wait. There's a lot of teams going through injuries and whatnot. But
I feel like I missed the injury. Somebody else got hurt. There's those soft tissue injuries. Like, I think the biggest one really that although he's not, I mean, he's injured, but there's contract disputes. You know, anytime a player is out for a majority of the preseason, I always get nervous about those soft tissue injuries. So with Micah not really playing, and everybody assuming that the same thing that happened to Dak, the same thing that happened to CD, that he's going to get the money, he's going to get paid. How long is it going to take, and how much time is he really going to have to get into football shape, knowing that your first game is against the Philadelphia Eagles in the offensive line? Like, I'm hopeful. Like, I'm not going to be a hater on that. Like, I don't wish injuries on anybody. I'm hopeful that, you know, if he gets it done, he's ready to play, because, you know, we want to beat them at their best anyway. So hopefully he's out there and he's ready to go. And I'm just praying that he has an injury-free season, because, you know, we saw with Rashawn Slater, you know, he got his bag and then he got hurt. You know, last year with Brandon Ayuk, he got his bag and then he got hurt. But that's the reason why these players are pushing for their bag, because they know at any moment they can be hurt and they can be out on their ass and have nothing. So I hope he gets his money. He definitely deserves it. Do I hope he gets it from the Cowboys? No, I hope he gets it somewhere else outside of the NFC East.
Yeah, and even going back to the thing with Brandon, like, because of the dispute, he missed most of camp.
Yeah.
And suffered that really big injury, as you were just talking about.
And you talk about it too, like Trey Hendrickson, he's still out. You know, we see how, as well as the Commanders played in their first and second series, the Bengals defense was trash. It was trash. And to think that you're trash without your best player out there too, and you're probably not going to be that much better without your best player, even though you're going to be better than what we just saw on the field, that's concerning. And then again with him not practicing, apparently he's standing on business where he's like, I'm not playing if I don't get it. And we'll see how much, how true he is to his word. And then again with the Commanders, Terry McLaurin, he ain't been practicing. You would hate for that to happen in the middle of a season, especially with with Jaden Daniels ascending the way that he is. And to be fair, you're pushing Debo into the one, or unless there's a rookie or a second year that's going to step up and take that, it's going to be tough. So
I absolutely agree with you there. If Terry McLaurin's not on the field, then that changes the whole dynamic of the responsibilities of the guys that have to catch the ball and make plays.
yeah,
Because you can't have the number one guy. If you don't have a 1B or 2A guy, you can't just have your 1A guy doing jet sweeps, lining up at running back, being the gadget guy if he's that true number one receiver. So, yeah.
because who else you going to depend on? Like Zach Ertz, love him to death. He old. He going to be all right. He's trying to rest until they possibly get to the postseason. I don't even think he dressed last night. So it's going to be tough. Like, who is it? And then you watch the preseason game. I mean, Tinsley played for the Commanders.
Yeah.
And now he with them. So it's like, that seems like that would have been, good young talent. Now, of course, young talent doesn't always show at the right time. Maybe they didn't see that when he was there with them. And now he's just peaking in a good opportunity. But it's going to be tough for them. Like, I'll be the first person to say, like, I'll be honest, I'm not the hugest Terry McLaurin fan. I know that he has worked with very little while he's been there, and he has been just a consummate pro with them. He's dealt with the merry-go-round of quarterbacks that they have had. But I think it's tough knowing that you're in a new regime. These people ain't draft you. They don't have those ties to you. It's tough. You're about to be on the other side of 30. They feel like once you get 30, you're a grandpa. I don't know. You unk at this point. You unk status. And they looking like, do we really want to go that way? So I'm surprised that it's drawn out this long, to be fair. Like, I really thought that they would have gotten something done by now. But I'm just waiting for the report, Adam Schefter, to be like, okay, they got it done. But
breaking news.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I appreciate you both for making my job very easy. Terry was the topic of the first part of Take It or Leave It. So since y'all already had all that to say, I don't need to go in any background. Appreciate you all both for that. Take It or Leave It. Malik, we'll start with you. Take It or Leave It. Do they need him as much as him and his agent may feel? Because for the price of 30, it looks like they're balking at it at this point.
So they need him. They absolutely, whatever his
price
at that price, absolutely. Because due to the fact that he is the reason why you can use Deebo Samuels how you envision to use him. If he's there, you can give him jet sweeps. You can line him up, as I said previously. Deebo Samuels, he might not be as old as Terry McLaurin, but he's not 3 or 4 years younger. So if you're going to use him, if you want to be able to use and still be explosive, losing the receivers you lost last year, then you can't rely on the younger guys or the guys with not as much experience to play with Jaden Daniels and expect to be able to sleep at night and to win games. So whatever his number is, does he deserve that amount of money? He deserves that price. He deserves a price near that price. Whatever price he's bargaining for, they know they need him to make a run. Whether they pay him that dollar amount or not is getting questionable because additional to him, guys like Brian Robinson, they're saying we don't need you, or we don't need you to be around for the things we have going on. And just to see in a few years, we'll realize which guys they brought in to pay. They're going to have the longer contracts, and you're seeing they're getting some guys in, some guys out. But if they want to make a run, they need Terry McLaurin.
All right, Octavia, before I hand it to you, you brought up the age thing. It's a matter of months between the two of them. They were both 29.
Yeah.
Hi, Sean, a.k.a. Debo, born January 15th. Terry, September 15th.
Yeah, so if you the Deebo Samuel is definitely to double down on the point. Yeah, he can't do it alone. He can't be the only receiver there with earned stripes that the stripes are showing.
All right, Octavia.
Yeah, I definitely agree because I feel like at this point, the Washington Commanders have basically dug themselves into a hole. If this was the stance you were going to take, you should have took this stance in February. You should. I'm sure that there was conversations that he was going to want an extension. You should have had this situation taken care of in February where you had opportunities to get in young talent. You're at 3 weeks from the start of the season. Ain't nobody else out there, bro. It's nobody else there. So at this point, to Terry McLaurin's positive, to me, he really has them where he wants them. Because he knows if y'all want to maximize on what y'all saw Jaden do last year, you need me. And this is my number. So let me see you get to my number. Now, granted, like you said, maybe he does deserve it, maybe he doesn't. But at this point, he's in a position to demand it because y'all don't got nobody else. If y'all wasn't going to pay him near what he wants or what he wants, you guys should have been shopping him around months ago. At this point, you're in a situation where you really don't have a choice unless you're really, really willing to just say, let's just see how this season goes after coming off of going to an NFC championship. And I promise you, them Commanders fans is not here for it. They got a little taste of what it feels like to be back in the mix of everything. Hell, I haven't bought Commanders tickets to see them play the Eagles in years. I was like, I'm just not going there for what? I bought tickets and I was like, y'all trying to, it's a little steep. Like, y'all really think y'all doing something now, right? So it's like, y'all got to still put a good product on the field. And Jaden can't do it alone. Debo can't do it alone. We talk about people being old. Zach Ertz can't do it alone. They don't know what's going on with Noah Brown. Not that Noah Brown was a strong, complete asset. Of course, he had the whole Hail Mary or whatever situation, but he's not a consistent contributor to them. You need Terry. If you didn't think you needed him, you should have been shopping him around months ago. We're at the point where it's put up or shut up, or your season is in jeopardy.
Yeah, I like where y'all at with it. I'm interested to see where this ends up going.
Same.
Just because I know where Adam comes from. There's his previous stops.
Mm-hmm.
They don't handle all that give me my money stuff too well.
That's a good point.
Also, another thing to keep in mind is, again, this is what I'm about to say is not a knock on Terry in the least bit, but you're essentially daring one of the league's better offensive minds to go on without you.
He might.
Again, I agree with everything you guys said. I'm just looking at the other side of it. You're asking one of the league's better offensive mind to be like, hey, Cliff, can you find a way to get around not having this person? So, like, I'd probably be fully locked in step with you guys if this happened before this regime. It's 3 for 3 out here. I'm with you guys.
True.
Now, is it gonna hurt? Hell yeah, they can't afford for him to be gone. But I would just, one of the other things they did is kind of like they kind of low-key insulated that room, right? But then you're banking on unknown quantities. Because like Malik, like you said, everyone knows what Terry is and Terry has been, right? We know that for sure. It's known quantity. Unless you're hoping for a combination of Jalen Lane, Michael Gallup, and somebody else to come in and just make up for their production. None of them, to a man, can fill Terry's shoes. But I think that's the thing is you're asking them in Cliff's system to figure it out. And they might feel like our quarterback's so good with Cliff's mind, we'll figure something out. I'm not saying I agree with them or anything. I'm just looking at that part of it because, again, previous regime, you're probably not even here. Terry might have got his money already. But it's a different regime. I don't know. It's hard. All these wide receivers are going through the ones that want 30 plus. It's tough out here. And Terry, like how you think Debo got over here?
Yeah.
Y'all hitting that age where, sir, these wide receivers come out of college. That's not 3 years, but that's 5 years of relatively cheap labor, sir.
Yeah.
So you know, if you're watching, see, like, we just got to get through this. Go right back in that draft. Go get some wide receiver, whatever it might be. That's all I'm saying. I agree with you guys. I'm just interested to see how it works out. That's why I think you two, I take it that you guys are taking it. I'm probably going to leave it just because I could see the other side where they're kind of like, well, we can kind of make things shake if they feel Jaden is that special, which
Sure.
I think to a man, everybody in that building feels like that. They can probably see life, envision life without him. And I just think maybe him and his team didn't think that they could. And, you know, sometimes you mess around and you find out. Sometimes.
Maybe there's somebody else out there. You know, I think, ain't Amari Cooper still out there somewhere?
Floating. But again, like, you got a whole Terry McLaurin who's extremely productive. So, again, I don't know, man. The Eagles, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, Octavia. They're collecting these dudes like they're freaking antique coins or something. I don't know, between Alabama players, but John Mechie, the third, got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. We know that wide receiver 1 and 2 or wide receiver 1A and 1B are not an issue in Philadelphia. The next 4 spots are, who knows, to be determined. And it's not me being mean, just being honest. Like, we know those 2 guys for a reason. Mechie's had a lot. He's dealt with a lot since he's been drafted. He was diagnosed with leukemia, which sidelined him for his entire rookie season in 2022. Played 16 games in 2023, 13 games in 2024. The Texans just drafted the receiving duo of Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. They also have Nico Collins over there. Mechie leaves one crowded wide receiver room to go to Philly, which it's also crowded, but I feel like there's not a like in Houston. It looks like there's legit like 4 spots that have been spoken for. You got the 2 dudes you just drafted. You got Nico. In Philly, you got those 2 guys, and then I'd say if you name some of the other guys in the room, but all those guys are looking to cement themselves.
Yeah.
So Malik, again, start with you. We'll go take it or leave it that this trade is that John Mechie is gonna work out for the Eagles and be a part of that rotation. Because I think some people forget, but I'm gonna let you go. Some people might forget. John Mechie was like that before he got hurt. So
John Mechie, I'd take it. Whether they use him to play wide receiver, slot back, kick return, he's one of the guys. The Eagles, they're the rich that gets richer, and he's one of those just gadget guys. Now, not only did they get John Mechie, they also got Keelan Robinson. He's another Alabama guy. He's from BC, 4.2, 4.3 guy, finished his eligibility at Texas. And they got him, and his NFL career isn't all pro or anything like that. Neither him nor Mechie, but they know what they can do with the ball in their hands. They were trusted. They played like we said, and we're just saying it's Alabama, but they have the tools underneath the hood to get it done. And Jalen Hurts is getting these people in the door. John Mechie, this is a clip in the air right now, him going against All Pro, his former teammate, giving him the business there. And that's a great guy. That gave him the business. So just John, I like this. This was a very alias transaction acquisition. He wasn't being used properly where he was at. You know, I like this for the Eagles. Whether it works or whether it doesn't work, if he's not the guy that's starting, that means the guys are there that are better than him, and he's one of the better guys.
I'll tell you, take it or leave it on Mechie's addition to the Eagles.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna take it. Number one, I'm gonna just take it because Howie Roseman's brain. I just felt like it's always good, so I'm gonna take that. But yeah, I think it's interesting because I feel like as long as we've had AJ and Devontae at this point, they've really been searching for a solidified number 3 wide receiver for a minute. They've cycled in and out of a few, Zacchaeus Olamide came through. I can't think of this dark skinned dude's name right now that came through.
Zacharias.
Zach
Pascal. Yeah.
Zach Pascal, we had some years where, You know, there was no name players that were playing 2 and 3, you know, prior to Devontae and AJ really getting there. So I feel like they've really been searching for a solidified 3. I think Jahan Dotson can do it, but knowing, like, you gotta kind of look at the backstory of the wide receivers and the quarterback. Jalen Hurts has an amazing relationship with AJ Brown. You've seen the clips of him being there when he got drafted. He visited. He was the person that, he visited when he went on his visit to Ole Miss. All these things. They have a great relationship in that aspect. We know the relationship that he has with Devontae Smith. Now we see him bringing in somebody else that he has a very strong relationship with, as far as personally and sports-wise. So I'm interested to see if Mechie is in a quote unquote comfortable situation, as comfortable as it can be, does that elevate him that much more? Like, in my head, I'm thinking Jalen had to sign off on this. I know he's not the type that like signs off on stuff, you know what I mean? But I feel like he probably was like, yeah, no, that's a good pickup. We can work with that. And then even as we're talking, like, I could see him doing punt returns, kick returns. We haven't really had a solidified kick return or punt return. I mean, Cooper was back there returning for us, last year. So I would be interested to see him come out there like that, knowing his speed, knowing, his ability in the open field. So I do think it's a good pickup. Especially, like I said, it just so happens that happened. And then Johnny Wilson got injured today, which is one of the wide receivers who have been playing a little bit or a bulk amount within the preseason games, him and Ainias Smith. So I like it. And I want to see it more. Of course, he just got here. So I'm really interested to see if he's going to be able to play in the preseason game coming up this week, just to kind of see it. It's not going to be 100% like we would expect it to be in the regular season, of course, because it's not going to be Jalen throwing him the ball. But I just want to see how they kind of ingratiate him into the process, how he fits in with the team. But I think I don't think it will be any type of harm. Because to be fair, I haven't really saw the whole rundown of what the compensation was on both sides. The only thing I saw is that we got John Mechie. I ain't see that we gave up no picks. I ain't see that we gave up no money. I ain't see nothing. So if that's what it is, I'm definitely going to take it. Like, a free person that we could possibly turn into something, I'm all for it.
Yeah, as for the compensation, it was.
I can tell you. I might say.
Go ahead.
Six round pick. They acquired him, and a 6th-round pick for tight end Harrison Bryant, and a 2026 5th-round pick.
Yeah, we don't care about that.
But yeah, for me, this is the Bama that I will recognize. No knock to Coach DeBoer down there now. These are Saban guys. I got nothing but trust in for everything to add on what Malik said. These are guys from Saban's Bama. I'm not counting those afterwards. Bless your hearts. Y'all went to Alabama. You just ain't go to Alabama that I watched. Not quite the same. Also, just for a brief little refresher, right? While they didn't play with Jalen Hurts at Bama, these two did spend 3 years together. During that time, you saw Devontae Smith go up for 235 catches for 3,900 yards, 46 touchdowns. Mechie, during that time, 155 yards for 2,081 yards and 14 touchdowns. Like, they were an impactful duo. Obviously, we know Devontae, those numbers are absurd. There's a reason he won some hardware for it. But as I tell you, said with Jahan Dotson, I think it's obviously to push him, but also I think Mechie might be somebody who's a little bit more of a stickler on some of the fine points of playing the position, where Dotson's still trying to get some of that, solidify some of those things. Mm-hmm. And, if quarterbacks like to play on time, those guys that are kind of, Malik, I'm sure you speak this, the dudes who are where they're supposed to be every time, on time, you got a leg up on those who might round their way to get there. Versus that step is boom, boom. It's 1-2 break. Like, it's not, I'm going to get there. So, I mean, I like it. Obviously, I got to stop trading with Howie, man. But I'll let this one go because he wasn't going to play in Houston. Because they just took a team's top duo. Like, Iowa State had 2 really talented wide receivers, and they took both. That's absurd. So I get that. So Howie, you're excused, but still, y'all got to stop this. It's getting.
They said how we got dirt on everybody in the league. It's something. I don't know.
And just to add on to not even the run aspect of what they do with the football, but just being the third wide receiver, whether that be
I think we lost him for a second. We'll get him back.
No,
We just got into it, but
I know I was ready.
move it just one until he gets back. This one for you, Octavia. The coach named Danny Dimes, aka Daniel Jones, the starter, which means okay. Hold on one second. I think we got Malik back, so let's get Malik back in here. All right, Malik, we got you back. Go ahead. You were just talking about the importance of being the third wide receiver in the pass.
absolutely, yeah, it just bugged out. Whether that be the third wide receiver on the Eagles team, whether that be a 6'6" guy like Johnny Wilson, whether that be a smaller guy Dotson, John Mechie, it's going to be really hard to contain what they do offensively. And just the packages and how like you said, you just got to stop trading with those guys because the packages of whether that third receiver is the outside guy or is that third receiver now he's the inside guy because AJ's on the field, Devontae's on the field. So just the packages that they're putting together and the promise and potential that's in the group is stellar. He's got to be, they got to start vetoing some of his trades.
You want to know what? If you're brilliant, or I'll use the word brilliant, enough to continue to pick up the phone and deal with him, that is on you. Y'all are grown, supposedly. All right. Danny Dimes won Daniel Jones, won the quarterback competition in Indiana to become the starting quarterback of the Colts. Take it or leave it, Anthony Richardson's next chance to play under center will not be with the Colts. Octavia, we will start with you.
I'm gonna take it because I feel like if they I know Anthony Richardson hasn't been what they thought he would be or what they feel like he was advertised to be. And I won't even say advertised to be because I think a lot of times they forget the fact that he did not start that much in college, and he dealt with a significant injury his rookie year. I just feel like they're at the point, it kind of gives off, crazy enough, it kind of gives off feels of what the Giants are doing to a certain degree. Like, I got to make sure I'm going to have a job next year, at this point. Jonathan Gannon, I can't remember if it's Jonathan Gannon or Shane Steichen, whichever one of our coordinators is there now. Steichen. He's been there since we went to the Super Bowl however many years ago, not when we just won. And they haven't really been doing that great. You don't really get that much time. So to me, it's like, let me give it to somebody that I know that at least has the presence to be able to do it. To me, it kind of makes me feel like they're really starting to be out on Anthony Richardson, knowing that he lost the starting job last year to Joe Flacco, knowing that now he's losing the job to Daniel Jones at as much peril that he's been in the last year and a half of his career. I know that I think, he just had pinky surgery or something, Anthony Richardson as well. It could also be, what they do, go with the vet. It's easier to pull a vet and put the younger guy in than it is to put the younger guy out there, have all the critiques, and then have to go to the vet. So maybe it's that, but I don't think he'll be there. I personally, I don't think he'll be there, and I personally don't think he needs to be there. I think similar to what Daniel Jones has done, having to move on somewhere else, start fresh somewhere else. I think that's what Anthony Richardson is going to have to do. He's going to have to find a place where their coaching staff believes enough in him, where to a certain extent, for lack of a better term, they don't just throw him to the wolves. Because I think, a lot of people thought that the Colts started him too early, as a rookie. Everybody thinks that where we are in this day and age with quarterbacks coming out of college, they're ready for them to jump right in, because you see the CJ Strouds when they started, you see the Jaden Daniels, but you also got to remember, you see the Caleb Williams, he struggled his first year. You see these other quarterbacks that when they come out, they're not all the way polished and ready. And I think that to a certain degree, they put him out there too fast. He wasn't polished. He wasn't ready. And all he did was regress, unfortunately. And then, of course, he became a little bit injury prone. You know, that shoulder thing really threw him out there for a good while. So I personally don't think he needs to be there anymore. And I don't think he will be. I think they'll probably be looking for, you know, maybe compensation with him, which is possibly another reason why he's not starting, because they don't want him to get injured any further, where it then puts his trade value, you know, lower because he's hurt at some point. So maybe they find a good somewhere where, you know, there's a place where he can go. Shoot, New Orleans ain't, they might need somebody to start from scratch with, you know, and with Kellen Moore being a quarterback whisperer or whatever you want to call him, that could be a good situation for him to go and start fresh and, you know, not have too much eyes on him, not too much responsibility, knowing that nobody thinks the Saints are going to do anything this year, you know. So maybe that's a situation that he ends up in, that he can start over fresh. You know, we've seen the success stories of, you know, Baker Mayfield had a tough outing. You know, he pulled it together. You know, there's been other quarterbacks who've had tough starts. You know, maybe he's a Sam Darnold. Maybe he's a Geno. We don't know.
I was about to say.
Maybe he's Sam Darnold. Maybe he's Geno. Maybe he needs to go. I mean, I feel like all of them go to Minnesota and just sit with Kevin McConnell for a little while and, you know, get their lives together. And then maybe, but I don't think that he'll be there in the long run. Maybe he'll be there this year. Maybe he won't. But I think that it's just not beneficial for both sides anymore. To at the point where you're going with Daniel Jones as somebody who's just coming in, just learning the system, and you are willing to turn the reins over to him as quote unquote quickly as this off season, I don't think it's good for either team, either side.
Yeah, just for my personal stuff, usually goes for me personally. The team that I root for, watch Sean McVay get his hands on him or something crazy like that. Just because people out here tripping. I don't want that, but you know, just that's how things.
If he just stay in the NFC West and we only got to see him in the playoffs, maybe I don't. Because
then you're okay with it, but it doesn't matter if I got to see him twice.
My bad.
It's okay. It's all right. It's fine. But
no, that's a good comparison too. Like if a really good person gets their hands on him, like I could see him elevating more. But I just think that with the lack of time he had to start in college, and then being thrust into, you know, for lack of a term, being a savior, like for the Colts. Like the Colts have been in quarterback peril since Andrew Luck early retired, and he had the weight of the franchise on him. We know he didn't react to certain things in the best way. You know, there were some character issues at times. He might need somebody that's going to be like, this is how it go. And hopefully he gets that. You know, I hate to see, you know, quarterbacks, players have bad, you know, outings and have bad situations for both sides. You know, we talk about more so for the players because the individuals, and you know, don't want to care too much about conglomerates with all the money that they have, but you know, both sides. I think mutually, him getting somewhere that will benefit his growth will help him.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking it. I think he'll be there probably until the trade deadline. But
yeah, probably.
Folks out here coaching for the job.
Somebody get hurt, you know, never know.
Unless, you know, God forbid Daniel Jones goes down and they have to put him back in there. I think they're kind of past it. But like you said, you're already coaching for your job instead of, you know, what's going on. But I just don't think either. It's like great options, right? Like you got an older person who hasn't figured it out in Daniel, and then you got a youngster who needs more time to figure it out. So
yeah, it's probably because you got him trying to learn from Daniel.
You're essentially in the same bad place. It's just which end of it are you looking at? But
yeah,
that's their thing. I'll mind my business.
To
your boy Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron will not be playing in preseason. He's not the only Steelers starter, but we're focusing on Aaron. That makes back-to-back preseasons in which he will not have played a single snap. Rodgers will take part in joint practices. As teams got a chance to get, practices. Teams get a chance to get their ones against other teams' ones. Game-like reps outside of a game. That's kind of where the really good works come from joint practice weeks is during those moments. The move the ball periods, 7-on-7s, etc. The situational periods, all that good stuff. That said, take it or leave it that Rodgers doesn't need the reps. Is it that he doesn't need it, or is it more so that they can't afford for him to take a knock in preseason? Malik will go with you, then Octavia.
They can't afford for him to take any blows. Short, plain, simple. We have Aaron Rodgers, then we have Will Howard. No disrespect to Will Howard or anything, going on right there. But this is one of the more different Pittsburgh teams we've seen in the last few years. A lot of vets. And not so more so it's never a lot of vets, but a lot of vets that have won things. That are a lot of vets from different places. I leave him. He doesn't need to play. We know what he can do. What he will do, we don't know, but we know what he can do.
Octavia?
Yeah, I definitely think it's more so on they need him to get to the regular season. Do I think him playing a series or two would benefit? Hell yeah. Because when he threw a couple of passes to DK Metcalf in the offseason, he missed mini camp. He's coming in hot. Well, he's coming in cold to a new situation. Him going to the Jets with his own offensive coordinator, he ain't really had to learn nothing. He's coming into a situation where he's going to have to at least learn something. He's going to have to get acclimated to the new players that are around him. And honestly, the fact that he's playing with more vets, like you said, and then he's playing with vets that he hasn't played with before. So like in the Jets era, there was Devontae eventually that came in. There was his security blankets that he brings with him everywhere. He don't got that here. And I think that having a game time rep, like, yeah, you can simulate as much as you possibly can in joint practices, but it's never going to simulate an actual game. So while I understand the aspect, I don't know if he's 40 yet, or at least he'll be 40 this year or 41 in December. I get it. And then knowing that he's already come out and stated that this is probably his last year, his last chance, his last hurrah. You want him to be tip-top shape. But I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. They did this in New York. He didn't play, and he was out there for 4 plays, and he snapped his Achilles because he's old. Like, he's old. So it would be nice for him to get a little bit of play, but I completely understand knowing that, like you said, the people that are behind him are not going to give the Pittsburgh Steelers the opportunities that they want to have this year. I don't know if Mason Rudolph is still there. Whoever is still there, they're not, of course, the caliber of player that Aaron Rodgers is. He's just long in the tooth. He's on the other side, of his age group. So while I get it for that, but I'm slightly concerned of how he'll look. And then of course you got to always run it back to how the entertainment value of it is going to be. They play the Jets opening week. Like, you really want him to go out there and look trash? It's going to be crazy. But that's what we're here for. When you come down to the season, they made these schedules for a reason. We know that was the reason that it was made. There was some inside. We know collusion be happening, so we know there was some colluding going on. But yes, I get it. I'm interested to see how it works out for the Steelers.
Yeah, I know they changed their whole lineup just a little bit this year. I know the two youngsters you got at tackle now. I know Troy Fatano's on, I think, right tackle, playing right tackle for them now. Got Broderick at left tackle. So I know in the past, the Steelers tackles weren't always known for being great pass blockers. Looks like somebody cared to try to change that before they put him back there now, because that's going to matter, because we saw the Jets O-line wasn't the greatest when he was, back there, and things ended prematurely. The other thing, I'm sure, Tom and the company do Arthur Smith's offense. I'm anxious to see how Aaron does in it, because it's a little bit more run the ball, play action, take shots off of that. The thing that he won, similar to the offense he won MVP with in Green Bay, but he didn't like the offense. So he went back to running his own offense. But, people are grown. Aaron's allowed to do whatever Aaron wants to do. But instead, now you're in an offshoot of the offense that you won, but it's your business. Also, I'm sure they're very happy that they have Darnell Washington, who is damn near the same size or bigger than offensive tackles in the freaking NFL already at tight end. So essentially, you have an extra tackle next to your tackle to block at times. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, I think if he wasn't coming off the type of year he just had, I'd be fine with them not getting preseason reps, right? But I'm even kind of a big proponent of give me a series and I'll leave you alone. Just give me a series. Just
one or two.
Just a series. Just a series.
Like what Joe Burrow did, I don't need all of that. Joe Burrow, you was out there doing a lot. We don't need that.
He should have just sat down when he left all the commanders through the front door. Just sit down, get tagged, go to the bench. That's it.
It was like he thought he was game 17 for his life.
They got the Bengals playing they got the Bengals offense playing like the offense is the problem. It's the defense.
Talk about the offense want to play. Did you get 5 new linemen yet?
It's not those. It's the defense that needs to be playing.
And I mean, they got starters out there. Back, I was like, Joe Burrow playing again?
Jamar Chase running routes against Kelly Ringo, and Kelly Ringo is going to play snaps, but he's not the starter.
Hey man, y'all said it. Like I said, every time there's a large portion of the Niners fan base is always crapping on offensive line. I'm like, just go look at Cincinnati, man. Life can always be worse. You can be average. Theirs is like that on purpose. They're trying, and it looks like that. That's tough. Leave Cincinnati alone. I'm gonna cut it down to one rapid fire question for tonight. So, some other stuff we touched on already. So let me go ahead and get that teed up for you guys. John Wall has officially retired from the NBA. Today he played for the Wizards, Rockies, and Clippers. But I think it's easy and more than fair to say people will always remember him for his time on the Wizards. He averaged 23 points, 10.7 assists. He was named third team All-NBA in 2016-17. Obviously, the list of what he did here goes more than just that amazing year. That's just the year that he was kind of widely acknowledged for his play. He did a lot here in D.C. So I'm going to play this video. And then I'm going to ask you guys, I want to know what you guys, obviously what you think of the message, but what did he mean to y'all, both in the area, during his tenure with the Wizards, what he meant to you guys individually now that he is officially going to the career. But we get this up here for everyone.
I've been chasing the ball since I can barely walk. Driveways, parks, packed gyms, 5 a.m. workouts. I gave this game everything I had. From Raleigh to Kentucky,
John Wall
to the league.
How good is John Wall?
Every jersey I've worn meant more than just wins and stats. It was about representing something bigger. And it's something I couldn't do without you. To my family, my mom especially, thank you for all your sacrifices. I hope I made you proud. To my teammates, trainers and coaches, thank you for believing in me. And to the fans, you made me feel unstoppable.
What a shot! What a shot!
Watching the game for me, this is from Maya. She really touched your heart, didn't she?
Today, I'm stepping off the court, not away from the game.
John Wall is in the building.
Basketball will always be in my life. As new opportunities present themselves, I feel now is the time to walk confidently into my next chapter.
Wall will finish. Easy special play.
Thank you for every cheer, every moment. Retired, but never done. I'm doing it the Wall way.
All right, y'all. That's came out today. You know, we had Shams obviously tweet that immediately out that we saw John's video. I'd say we start with you. Just your thoughts on him retiring, and then what it meant to him, what he meant to you, obviously, and to the area in his tenure as a member of the Washington Wizards.
That was so sweet, first of all. But no, like John Wall, and I want to speak from like myself. So like I went to school in North Carolina. So I actually went to school with a lot of people that went to school with him, like in high school. I will never forget the first time he was on my college campus, like John Wall. And this was like at the height of Twitter. And I tweeted, I was like, I think I just walked past John Wall on campus. And he literally tweeted me back. He was like, yeah, it was me. And it was like, ever since then, I was like, he seems like a cool dude. And like, I knew a lot of people that kind of grew up with him. One, I hope they retire his jersey at Rose Bar. It's deserving. Let's start with that. But no, like John Wall, and let's be real, Bradley Beal, but we're talking about John Wall right now. Him being a Wizard brought back kind of the life in the city. Like nobody was really caring about the Wizards. John Wall, like granted, don't get me wrong, they didn't have the best seasons all the time, but they had some explosive times where you could really feel it throughout the city that a lot of people were at Wizards games to see John Wall play. Ever since he played in Kentucky and he came out here, it might not have always been pretty. It might not have always been what you wanted it to be, but I can say from the games that I've seen him play, I've never seen him quit. I've always seen him play his hardest. And he really tried. I think he really tried. I think, you know, sometimes you get caught up in the basketball live and the contracts and the this and the that, but he has to go down as one of the best Wizards ever, you know, outside of the ones that didn't win anything, but you know what I'm saying. But he put on for the culture. Like there's no denying that. So congratulations to him. You know, a lot of people don't get to actually announce their retirement. They have to, you know, get injured. You know, I know he hasn't played in a couple of seasons or anything like that, but to be able to go out on your own terms is always a positive and is always a great thing to do. In the video, he talked about being able to walk into his next chapter. I'm interested to see what it is. You know, I'm guessing that it's, of course, it's going to be somewhere basketball related. I don't know if it's commentating. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what it's going to be, but it makes me feel like it's going to be somewhere in that realm. I think I've seen him do a couple of commentating on NBA TV a couple of times. So I'm very interested to see how it goes, because, you know, I can't imagine being a professional basketball player and having to officially hang it up and be like, I just don't do anything with basketball anymore. So I'm super excited to see what his next chapter is, but he deserves everything that he's gotten. And I hope our city, I know how we are at times, but I hope our city gives him the flowers that he deserves for everything that he did do for us. Yeah, so congratulations to him, and I'm here to see his next steps.
Lee.
Tad on to Octavia's point. Since Gilbert Arenas, this was John Wall City. It hasn't been a guy that sparked a flame in Washington D.C. basketball since John Wall. They draft young guys every year. They're looking for another guy to take over D.C. like John Wall did. And he's really going to be, his blueprint is in the city. From the clubs to the outside life to inside the gym, he's one of the reasons. So respect to him. He deserves his flowers.
Yeah, very appreciative of that. You know, during our time coming up in media and covering the league, it was Darren John Wall seniors with the Wizards. tenure with the Wizards. Truly enjoyed each and every part of it. We got a great opportunity. See a lot of big games here during that time. Playoff matchups. Obviously dealt with injuries a lot. We knew there was a noticeable difference between when he was on the court, suited up, and when he wasn't. And those seasons, those long seasons, as we, grew and learned how to deal with the NBA grind, covering the 40 games, whatnot, at the 40 home games and whatnot. One of the things was John made it easy. I like the fact that he wasn't one of the dudes that kind of you had to go find to talk to. Sometimes we had to wait a little bit because, again, the injuries took a little while to get right before he talked to the media and whatnot. But he was always there, held himself and others accountable. Would have loved to see what it looked like had he been able to stay healthy the entire time. But the time here was truly special. I don't think there's another guard. He's up there in the history of this franchise in terms of lead guards. And it's not me knocking on anybody, just saying if he was think about the guys that he got paid from what it was that he did, just facilitate. Guys made bank, and all you had to do was go get open. John was going to take care of the rest. Just catch and shoot, sir. Go get you right. Played both ends of the floor. Loved the competitor that he was, the fire he played with. Like you said, Octavia, just city was different when was still chasing that feeling from what it was like when he was on the court. It's yet to return. Hopefully, obviously, those youngsters can do that. But it was just different, man. Obviously him and Brad those times, but just John was amazing both on and off the court here. You guys already mentioned Rose Bar stuff. I was going to go a little bit more serious with the philanthropy.
Hang it in the
community. Just amazing in the community with this foundation and whatnot. So,
yeah,
job well. Every box of what you wanted or demanded out of a guy that was supposed to be the guy. He did every one of those things where, to the degree you did a good job being a guy where when you leave, all of a sudden people are looking and poking holes at things that weren't there, that they've always been there, but we didn't see it because you were there. It wasn't national conversation because you were there. Covered a lot of that stuff up. But that's what it means to be a franchise guy. But job well done. Like you said, Octavia, you've seen him commentate, seen him on the desk NBA TV. Hopefully he continues to do this. I've enjoyed those segments. One of the times I usually keep my TV on, keep my little monitor on mute on a regular basis. The times John's talking, I have 8 or maybe 6 talk. I tend to unmute. So definitely just want to say thank you. Obviously to our journey too. Just having a chance to cover John throughout that whole time, man. Truly appreciate each and every bit of it. Hope he enjoys retirement. But for you all, we will check in with you guys next week. And this is Outlook, folks. We'll see y'all in just a little bit. Y'all have a great week.